A lot of people are under the impression that you need to finish a game in order to review it. Whilst I see where they are coming from, it's not something I've always agreed with personally. I do think you need to put plenty of time in, but completion is not particularly necessary, I don't think. I should say before I start, I've finished quite a few games before I review them, but definitely not all of them. For example, one of the last games I reviewed, Far Cry Primal, I didn't finish before I reviewed it, but I put a good shift in and was pretty close to the end. Some might think that invalidates my opinion on it, but with AAA games like this, there's not many peaks and dips in the action. It's just a flat line of bland all the way through, and it's rare a game magically becomes better in the last couple of hours in a way that massively weighs on the review. There are a few games that get better after putting a lot of time in, true. Wasteland 2 is a prime example of that, but that's no excuse for me. If a game takes 10 or more hours to get going, most players, I think, will give up long before then. Quite a few games I've finished after reviewing them, and my opinion doesn't change. Personally, I think a lot of people after a few hours have a pretty good idea of what a game is like. Sure, I think you do need to experience all the mechanics and systems the game has to offer so you can really dissect them in your review, but completion also doesn't offer the rewards it did before. Remember when you finished Resident Evil 4, you unlocked Ada's assignment and Mercenaries mode, all valuable stuff to review, so completion probably was important there, but nowadays this kind of stuff is shat out as DLC. There's also people like me wanting to be part of the initial conversation about a game. The first week a game comes out, you will see the majority of the reviews. Plenty of these people will have finished it. Sites like IGN, GameSpot and big YouTubers get sent an early copy by the publisher, giving them an advantage. Not to mention most of them are in the back pocket of publishers, but I won't go on about that. Bear in mind as well, these people also do it for a living. They have all day, all week to play and review the game, whereas scrubs like me, who have a different job to stay afloat whilst doing this, and is trying to get a start in the industry, don't have that luxury. Big YouTubers with lots of subscribers also have the luxury of being able to upload their reviews a bit later as well, since a lot of their fans base their purchases off their opinion. With a game say like The Division, if I seriously went and finished everything that game had to offer before I review it, it would be months after the initial buzz has died down, meaning my review will get less attention. In them 2 months, people have moved on to the next hot release, making it less relevant. But I do believe I put lots of time into that before review, and a lot of the content in that game is repetitive anyway. People watching and engaging is ultimately what we all want to see from our reviews, and being part of the initial conversation about a new release is a lot of people's best chance for that. Fair enough, people say they just do it because they enjoy it, and I do too, but there comes a point where you question what the point is if no one's watching. Being part of the first wave of reviews isn't always the best option though, as I've found out. This is where I'm going to apologise for my Xenoblade X review. This is the perfect example of someone rushing a review out to be part of the earlier reviews. I put just over 10 hours into Xenoblade before I reviewed it, and for anyone who has played it, you know that's a tiny amount. Turns out after putting a lot more time into that game, it's pretty fantastic. Some of my criticisms on that initial review still hold up I think, but it clearly shows I didn't put enough time in. I know I said a game that takes 10 or so hours to get good is no excuse, but in Xenoblade's case I think my ignorance to learn some of the systems of that game were to blame. So I can only apologise there. I 110% completely fucked it. I apologise to the person I gave sass to in the comments, though I doubt they're watching. It was highly unprofessional of me and I should have put more time in. Maybe me and others should fully disclose how much time we have put in, or label them as impressions. That's a habit I should probably get into. I can see both sides of the argument. With a game like Call of Duty, the campaign's about 6 hours, so it's not hard to ask the reviewer to finish it. Bear in mind, when I review a new release, I try to do it within the week, and with long games like The Witcher 3, it's almost impossible for me to finish that in a week when I also work. Yes, I can put it off, but as I said, there's lots of factors that I feel prevent me from doing so. So, what do you think reviewers should do? If I am honest, I would much rather see a review from an independent person who hasn't completed said game, but has no ties to publishers or developers, rather than a site like IGN who probably did finish it but have the taint of publisher ad revenue and developer arse licking. I suppose it's another reason not to get so wound up by reviews, as well as taking them all with a pinch of salt.